Hi everyone, I'm Antonette Dennis, a UNESCO youth trainer tasked to help build institutional capacity on meaningful engagement and to encourage the active participation of young people across all sectors. I grew up in one of the poor parts of rural Jamaica and experienced firsthand what a life riddled with poverty is like. Little food, no running water, and sometimes only enough money to send one of 5 children to school. So, ponder on this reality. At this very minute, even more so due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a mother is deciding how she'll ration the little food she has so it can feed her family. Thousands of children are not in school, and vulnerable groups, which include children and youth, women and girls, the LGBTQ community, persons with disabilities, and the list goes on, are constantly hoping to get the relief they need to live. Why? Because rampant poverty is among the biggest challenges faced by people and governments globally. It continues to reproduce itself in vicious cycles, driven by unacceptable levels of inequality. This leaves the poor without quality opportunities to thrive. Hence, this is the reason why reducing poverty is goal 1 of 17 established Sustainable Development Goals. Fixing the problem now requires far more than just talks, consultations, and promises to implement policy. This urgent issue requires action, dedicated resources, and investment in social interventions that are entrenched in human rights and allow for equitable participation across all socioeconomic groups. Data from the World Bank indicate that COVID-19 has increased global poverty significantly and will push 150 million people into extreme poverty by the end of this year. Even those who may have had the chance to escape poverty are less able to do so now because of the challenges brought on by the pandemic. Small island developing states are even more adversely affected, some facing serious challenges to deliver on their commitments to economic and social rights. Some of the major challenges include currency depreciation, a tightened fiscal space, and reduced remittances have stifled many of their key targets. With a global crisis that has left many without proper social protection and has entrenched the discrimination and inequalities that already existed, world leaders and young people are now left at a crossroads. A crossroad where the complexities of the COVID-19 crisis have compounded the socioeconomic challenges of those who are most marginalized and fall at the bottom of the social food chain. So, where do we go from here? What route do we take to achieve widespread equity and development? And whose responsibility will this be to bear? Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has provided a unique opportunity for all tiers of leaders. Navigating a clear path towards an inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future is the responsibility of this generation of leaders and stakeholders. A step that, if not taken quickly, can potentially become our biggest downfall. First, we need a new social contract, one that establishes more inclusive global governance, better regulations on finance, and promotes productive capacities in countries most affected. This will help to address poverty and rising inequalities. We also need to move into creating more robust and equitable education systems. This has been stressed repeatedly, and yet many nations still have not gotten it right. UNESCO tells us that learning loss due to COVID-19 has affected 1.3 million learners. This, compounded with unequal opportunities for rural versus urban schools and countless allegations of corruption within the system, has the potential to cripple one of the clearest means of breaking cycles of poverty and achieving social mobility. I've always been a believer that if we fix the issues stifling proper education, then that will create a domino effect. The creation of a more equipped labor force to strengthen the various sectors and bridge the gaps that we're now seeing. Second, states must adopt a human rights-based approach to taxation. This will raise the necessary resources for public investments in basic social services. Measures could include a special services tax and concrete steps to curb illegal financial flows and tax abuse. Third, international financial institutions, multilateral development banks, and transnational corporations have an important role to play in securing and enabling an international environment by stepping up development cooperation. They have an obligation to uphold human rights and contribute to reducing poverty and inequalities. Civil society, youth movements, social movements, and youth-led organizations also have a pivotal role to play in reducing inequalities and advocating for human rights. Many are grassroots agencies and organizations with a unique connection to the people and can achieve great results once the mandates are not derailed by self-greed and political motives. Active, free, and meaningful participation of poor and marginalized communities should be prioritized in the formulation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of national and international policies aimed at combating poverty. Friends, the 2030 Agenda envisages a world of universal respect for human rights, human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, non-discrimination, and respect for race, sex, age, ethnicity, cultural diversity, and of equal opportunities to shared prosperity. With just 9 years to go, there is still so much to do, so many things to change, and importantly, so much that can be achieved. However, such an overhaul cannot be done without our representatives and lawmakers having the political will to create and legislate these types of changes. As young people, we also have a pivotal role to play. We have a duty to offer viable solutions that can usher our countries into the future, to advocate for the causes dearest to us, and doing so with integrity, even in times when we feel helpless. Otherwise, the generations to come will only continue to be shackled by the proverbial poverty and societal blockades, as were their parents and those before them. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to make the bold moves. This is my charge to you for Human Rights Day 2021.